In a previous video on Egyptian gods, I discussed the Egyptian creation story centered on the primeval mound emerging in Heliopolis. At that time, I mentioned two other locations associated with the origins of Egyptian civilization, Hermopolis and Memphis. In this video, I will briefly explore the creation stories from these two sites, along with some other prominent Egyptian gods and goddesses that I did not cover in my previous two videos on Egyptian deities, namely Ptah, Nefertum, Bastet, Sobek, Taweret, Bes, and Heka. The creation story of Hermopolis shares similarities with that of Heliopolis but shifts its focus to a different group of deities and cosmic themes. Instead of the Ennead, which comprises Atum, Ra, Shu, Tefnut, Geb, Nut, Osiris, Set, Isis, and Nephthys, the Hermopolitan narrative centers on the Ogdoad, a group of 8 primordial deities. These 8 gods, consisting of 4 male-female pairs, personified fundamental elements of existence. The males were depicted as frogs and the females as snakes, symbolizing their connection to the primordial waters of chaos. Nu and Nonnet embodied the chaotic waters themselves. Ha and Ha-He represented the boundlessness of infinite space, Kek and Kokhet symbolized the pervasive darkness, and Amen and Amenet represented the hidden and mysterious aspects of the universe. In this myth, the Ogdoad worked together to create the foundation of existence, ultimately producing a cosmic egg. This egg contained the creator god, who would go on to bring forth all other gods, as well as humans, animals, and everything else in the world. Traditions differ in identifying this creator god. Some accounts name Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom, whose association with eggs aligns with this creation story. Other versions, however, attribute this role to Amen, emphasizing his hidden and all-encompassing nature. The Memphite creation myth, while sharing commonalities with the Heliopolitan tradition, places Ptah, the god of craftsmanship and creation, at its center. In this version of the story, Ptah is credited with bringing the world into existence through the power of thought and speech. He is said to have conceived the forms of creation within his heart and brought them into being by speaking them into existence with his tongue. This emphasis on the creative power of thought and language highlights Ptah's association with intellectual and artistic craftsmanship. According to this tradition, Ptah not only created Atum and the Ennead but also played a crucial role in shaping earlier primordial forces. In one variation of the myth, Ptah unites the 8 deities of the Ogdoad from Hermopolis and transforms them into a singular creator god, Amen. According to ancient records, Ptah began as a local deity in the city of Memphis in Lower Egypt around 3100 BCE. When Upper and Lower Egypt united, Memphis became the capital city, and Ptah was elevated to the status of a state god. Along with his wife, Sekhmet, and their son, Nefertum, Ptah formed the Triad of Memphis, a central grouping of deities worshipped in the region. As the god of creation, Ptah was believed to have created everything, including himself and the universe, encompassing the gods, heaven, and earth. Ptah was typically depicted as a green-skinned figure, symbolizing renewal and life. He was shown with a false beard, wearing a skullcap, and wrapped like a mummy. He carried a scepter combined with a jed pillar and an ankh, representing power, stability, and life, respectively, key aspects of his creative powers. The worship of Ptah was particularly prevalent in areas populated by craftsmen and artisans. The high priests of Ptah maintained close ties with the royal family and played vital roles as architects and master craftsmen. They were also responsible for designing and embellishing the funerary complexes of the royalty. The primary temple dedicated to Ptah was located in Memphis, his cult central hub. Elsewhere, Ptah was honored with shrines and temples, including a shrine within the precinct of Amun-Ra at Karnak in Luxor, Abydos, Deir el-Medina, and Abu Simbel. Ptah had a son, Nefertum, the god of perfumes. While Ptah is universally acknowledged as his father, Nefertum's mother varied by region, Sekhmet in Memphis, Wadjet in Buto, and Bastet in Bubastis. Nefertum was commonly depicted as a young man adorned with a pastiche or false beard and lotus flowers, either on his head or held in his hand. He also wore a ritual necklace composed of multiple rows of beads and an amulet. The ancient Egyptians revered him as a protector and healer. In some representations, he appeared in alternative forms, such as standing on a lion, possessing a lion's head, or as a baby seated on a lotus bud. As a deity closely associated with lotus flowers, Nefertum was believed to harness their medicinal properties for healing. Lotus oils, highly valued in ancient Egypt, were used in the mummification process to neutralize the odor of decaying flesh. Worshippers frequently offered lotus flowers or other blooms to honor him, invoking his healing powers through aromatic offerings and incense to cure illnesses. Nefertum was also venerated as the god of rebirth and creation. The lotus flower, which emerged from the water at sunrise and submerged again at night only to reappear the next morning, symbolized cycles of rebirth and enlightenment. A shrine dedicated to Ptah, Sekhmet, and Nefertum can be found within the precinct of Amun-Ra at the Karnak temple complex in Luxor. As mentioned, Bastet is often identified as the potential mother of Nefertum. She was the daughter of Ra and the sister of Sekhmet. Initially worshipped in the form of a lioness during the Second Dynasty, around 2890 BCE, Bastet transitioned into a gentler feline goddess around 1500 BCE, coinciding with the domestication of cats. This transformation became especially prominent during the Third Intermediate Period, 1070 to 712 BCE. She is frequently depicted as a beautiful woman with the head of a cat, dressed elegantly, holding a sistrum in her right hand, and carrying a bag over her left arm. By day, Bastet accompanied Ra on his solar boat as he journeyed across the sky. By night, she transformed into a cat, protecting Ra from his perpetual enemy, the serpent Apophis, in the underworld. As a native deity of Bubastis, Bastet's popularity grew substantially, leading to the establishment of a major religious center in Memphis. Her worship, akin to that of Isis, extended into the Greco-Roman period and even beyond Egypt to cities such as Rome, Ostia, Nemi, and Pompeii. Known in Greek as Bast, she served as a protector of women, children, and homes, safeguarding them from diseases and evil spirits. In the afterlife, she acted as a guide and protector of the dead and was occasionally associated with childbirth. Bastet also symbolized the domesticated cat, esteemed for its ability to control pests like mice, rats, and snakes. Cats linked to Bastet were revered as protectors of food supplies and agricultural fields. During the late and Ptolemaic periods, cat mummies were discovered in Bubastis and Memphis, and amulets in the form of cats were commonly worn for protection. Many Egyptian gods and goddesses were depicted as half-human, half-animal figures, such as Bastet. Another notable deity of this nature is Sobek. Sobek was an ancient Egyptian god known for his aggressive nature and his association with the violent crocodiles of the Nile. His fierce character allowed him to combat evil and protect the innocent. The people revered him for protection, especially when traveling along the Nile, which was infested with dangerous crocodiles. Sobek was commonly depicted as a man with the head of a crocodile, wearing a headdress consisting of a horned sun disk flanked by two plumes and an uraeus. In some representations, he appeared as a mummified crocodile. In his temples, priests kept live crocodiles as physical manifestations of Sobek. These creatures were carefully tended to, fed the finest meats, and, upon their death, were mummified and buried with the same rites as humans. In addition to being the god of water, Sobek was also associated with medicine and surgery. At Ka-Mambo, a temple dedicated to both Sobek and Horus, images of surgical instruments were inscribed on the walls, emphasizing his connection to healing practices. Taweret was the goddess of childbirth and a protector of women and children. She was depicted with the head and body of a female hippopotamus, a bloated pregnant belly, female human breasts, the tail and back of a crocodile, and the paws and limbs of a lioness. During the Middle Kingdom period, Taweret's image was believed to possess magical powers. It was commonly found on furniture and household items. She was especially revered for her role in assisting women during labor, protecting them and their babies from evil spirits and demons. Expecting mothers often carried amulets of Taweret for protection and a safe pregnancy. In the afterlife, Taweret's role expanded to help cleanse and purify the dead, guiding them through the western mountains to the underworld. While she did not have a temple dedicated to her, Taweret was an important goddess, widely worshipped as a household deity in the ancient Egyptian pantheon. Another protector of the household is the god Bes, also known as Aha or Baisu, who was particularly revered for his protection of mothers, children, and childbirth. As a household guardian, Bes was believed to prevent evil spirits from entering homes, assist women in labor, promote fertility and sexuality, and safeguard children. His statues were commonly placed at the gates of homes or outside birth houses as a form of protection. His image also appeared on furniture, pottery jars, and other household items, serving as a symbol of protection. Bes was typically depicted as a dwarf with a protruding tongue, large ears and eyes, a beard, long hair, and prominent genitals. He was often shown bow-legged and wearing a lion-like mask. At times, he wore a crown of feathers and held a rattle, which could be replaced with a knife, sword, or snake. Over time, Bes also became a symbol of life's pleasures, including music, dance, and sexual enjoyment. During the New Kingdom, musicians, dancers, and even servant girls were often tattooed with images of Bes on their thighs. In the Ptolemaic period, chambers used for healing rituals were decorated with paintings of Bes and his wife, Bastet. Bes's worship spread widely from the New Kingdom period, reaching as far as Spain and extending into Central Asia. Though Bes did not have dedicated temples, he was worshipped in homes and birth houses, and his amulets were commonly worn by women and children. The final goddess I will discuss is the Egyptian goddess Heka, the goddess of magic and medicine. As the personification of the magical and divine forces that permeated the universe, Heka played a crucial role in both the daily life and the afterlife of the ancient Egyptians. She was believed to be present at the creation of the world, helping to bring order and balance. In addition to being the goddess of magic, Heka was closely associated with healing and was invoked for both physical ailments and spiritual protection. Priests and healers often called upon her name to harness her magical powers in their rituals, medicines, and protective charms. Heka was typically depicted as a woman with the head of a cobra, symbolizing her connection to the divine and her role in protecting the world through her magical abilities. In some depictions, she also appeared as a woman holding a scepter, a symbol of her authority over magic and the forces of the universe. She was sometimes shown with the hieroglyph for Heka, meaning magic, above her head. Though there were no specific temples in Egypt dedicated solely to Heka, her worship was widespread, especially in medical and magical contexts. She was often revered alongside other deities like Thoth, the god of wisdom, and Imhotep, the god of healing. Over time, Heka's legacy was carried into Greece, where she evolved into the goddess Hecate, a prominent figure in Greek mythology. Hecate became known as a goddess of witchcraft, magic, and the moon, with her association to liminal spaces and mystical rites inspired by Heka's role. In later periods, Heka's influence further extended to witches and pagan religions, where she remained a powerful symbol of feminine divine magic.